All right, so we're here in the studio again. Little update. The reason I wasn't here too much is because the AC broke, so I was sweating my you-know-what off when I was in here. Finally, we're here, and now the light above me won't turn on, so I have like a lighting kit behind here. But yeah, everything's falling apart, but one thing that's not falling apart is my love for Cyberpunk 2077. We got a lot to talk about today. Really excited. We got brand new gameplay, some interview snippets, new screenshots, characters to talk about that we saw in previous trailers, and on top of that, GameInformer has a juicy cover for Cyberpunk 2077 that has a couple of cool secrets that I wanted to highlight in today's video. So with all of that, let's dive right in, starting off with the brand new gameplay that I imagine most of you are clicking for. This released a couple of days ago. However, YouTuber Dantix, who I will have linked in the description down below, was sent B-roll for this very specific katana footage that has the best visual quality. So once again, go ahead and give Dantix a look. I'll have him linked down below. He makes great Cyberpunk content that I think you guys will like. Anyway, let's break down this footage because it's spicy. There's a lot to take in here, and because I am very much a super analytical, is that even a word? I am a guy who digs into details, so there's a lot to pull out here for myself. Let me share with you. For starters, let's just get the bad out of the way. The sword animations are not great. This is Skyrim level, in my opinion. It's like the swords bouncing off their heads. But, you know, the game does a lot, so I will be a little more accepting of the less than incredible sword animations because there is great shooting, there's a ton of quests, there's going to be choice and consequence, big open world, so I am a little more accepting of those sword animations not being stellar, but hopefully the rest of the game does live up to that hype. Now, more interestingly is the amount of different types of XP that V is acquiring. Blades XP, level XP, street cred XP, all of these do separate things that we've broken down in a different video, but a quick recap is pretty much that, much like in Skyrim, you have your various skills that will level up as you do certain things. Where you use one-handed weapons, you'll get your one-handed skill up. Two-handed, lock-picking, alchemy. You get it. You use the skill, you become more proficient in it. And just like in Skyrim, in Cyberpunk 2077, as you become more proficient with these skills, you'll unlock perks for them. So as you increase your blades level, you'll have access to more blades perks. However, your blade skill cannot go above your level. So that's why you're seeing level XP, because that's going to level your character up. They're currently 16, going on to 17. So the highest the blade skill can go at that point in this gameplay is 16. So that's why there's two different tiers of XP there. As for street cred, this is sort of what seems to be the level gating that CD Projekt Red has implemented into the questing within the title, where you'll have to have a certain level of street cred in order to earn different types of gigs, which is what you're actually doing in this katana gameplay in the background throughout the world. So that kind of explains all the different levels of XP. Let's continue on breaking down some of the controls. So you can hold LT to block, and we actually see V try to block some bullets, which I don't know if that's actually a skill you'll be able to unlock. It does seem that's the case, but we don't see any changes in animations to make it look like we're deflecting bullets, which would be absolutely insane. You can hold RT to swing for a strong attack or tap it like we see here in this video, and that will give it a little bit of a quick attack. Double tapping B will allow you to do a dodge. So pretty simplistic controls here, but it's still cool that you can run around with a katana and melee enemies to death. In fact, at one point in the gameplay, we actually see V chopping away and decapitating his foe, and we see the head dropping by the car that V will soon enter. I thought this was kind of surprising because it just sort of pops off like a toy or something. More interestingly, and this is something that Dantix picked up on that I want to make sure I shout him out for, is this sort of bleeding slash lifesteal effect that's ongoing. When V lands on the ground, he doesn't lose any health from the fall. However, some type of ability activates with blood drops next to his health bar. And when he attacks the first enemy, he does gain some of his health back. However, when he attacks the second enemy, he does apply that very same effect to them, which I imagine would be a bleeding damage over time debuff. But does that same icon symbolize lifesteal if it's on V's health bar, or was he bleeding and then recovered it with some item? I was looking at the bottom left corner with some of the item hotbar, and I didn't see any numbers change, so it remains to be seen, but it does seem like there is some sort of lifesteal effect in play. Speaking of that hotbar on the bottom left corner, there is something you could press on the right D-pad to maybe call in your car. At least based off the car icon, that seems to be the case, sort of like Batman Arkham Knight. So I'm a pretty big fan of this idea of seeing my car just swoop in out of nowhere and pick me up in this grand escape. Back to the combat though, when V is attacking, you can see the stamina bar on the top will decrease for each consecutive attack. Furthermore, it will decrease when he sprints as well. Now, as the mission begins to wrap up, V does receive a brand new message that says, "You made a real mess in there, didn't you? Hell, I'm fine with it. Gig closed. Till next time, V." And you'll notice on the top right corner, you have 11 brand new messages underneath the map. So I believe that these messages are deeply tied into the quests you're going to be picking up, those side quests. Now, this is called a gig, but that is apparently what CD Projekt Red is calling their various side quests. So I don't know exactly if there will be Radiant quests within this game too, sort of like what we've seen in Skyrim, Fallout 4, and a lot of games following suit to provide a lot of additional content that maybe isn't totally necessary but fills out the game world a bit more. There's also a bit of driving that we see, and most interestingly is pressing Y to go ahead and enter combat mode, where V can lean out of his car and use his gun. This is something we've seen multiple times throughout Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay since 2018, so this shouldn't be too new, but I do wonder if they're going to let the HUD fade away at some point in time. Will the controls telling me how to block, attack, dodge eventually go away? Will they do the same with driving? I do wonder about that, because it feels like one of the issues I'm seeing with the game is everything's cramped around the corridors of the screen, so you just have like this little vision bubble here because everything else is decorated with tons and tons of information, and eventually it just needs to let you play the game or learn or stop holding your hand. All right, next up we have brand new character profiles from the Cyberpunk 2077 Twitter account. We're going to learn a little bit about people that we've actually seen throughout the gig trailer and also the Braindance gameplay. So let's begin with Evelyn Parker. Evelyn Parker's intelligence and ambition drives her to demand more from her life. Her goal of becoming a professional actress and her rational head for the biz led her to a job at the dollhouse. This stepping stone in her career quickly became something much more permanent. Now, there is also a interview on GameInformer.com, which was with Paul Sasko, the quest designer for Cyberpunk 2077, and he talks a bit about Evelyn. So to give some more backstory on her, I'll go ahead and read this snippet here. A character in our demo named Evelyn is a good example of this. Evelyn is shrouded in mystery when you meet her. She's a confident, charming young woman who contracted Dex, the fixer you get one of your first big jobs from. All your interactions with her prove she has some connection to Night City's high circles, but every time you ask her questions, it feels like she's only giving you half the story. At one point, she offers to just cut Dex out of the deal so only you two split the riches. It's suspicious, but then again, you don't know Dex that well. Still, are you ready to cross a legendary fixer who can make your life hell? When you're meeting Evelyn in Lizzie's bars, she's doing very specific things in the specific moments, and there are things she is not certain about that she's discussing, Sasko says. The way that she's moving in that scene, that's specifically designed to present that character in the best possible way and to give the player lots of different interpretations and hypotheses. Sasko says that the team then throws in more potential clues to give players a certain perspective or vision of the character. Then in the next meeting with the character, the team tries to twist this a bit by adding more elements of the pictures that test or confirm the player's hypothesis. It's a tricky balance between conveying a sense of who that character is as a person, but also reflecting that complexity of people and their capacity to omit, forget, and alter details. After all, memory is a tricky thing, and people's versions of events sometimes change as they relay them. So the fact that Evelyn contracted Dex, who was originally portrayed to the player throughout the various gameplay and trailers we've seen as this big head honcho fixer, makes it a little more peculiar what kind of role she plays in the main story. So she's someone you gotta keep your eye out for. But let's go ahead and continue talking about a couple of screenshots and character profiles that are still available on the Cyberpunk Twitter account. First and foremost is some type of creepy sheriff just hanging inside V's vehicle. More importantly, for like the rest of the Cyberpunk 2077 fan base, is Judy Alvarez, which everyone's obsessing over. But let's go ahead and read what CD Projekt Red had to write about her. Judy Alvarez is Night City's premier braindance technician, heavily respected for her skills, innovation, and creativity. Motivated to change things for the better, she teamed with the Mox and currently works for them as a BD technician and editor. So we saw Judy in the big Night City Wire gameplay reveal where we saw a lot of braindancing ongoing. She seems to play at least a major role in the beginning part of the game, but like I said, everyone's like really all about Judy. And last but certainly not least, for the screenshot slash concept art for Cyberpunk 2077, we're taking a look at one of the districts known as Watson. Let's read. Watson used to have it all. Nightclubs, skyscrapers, corporate offices, a top-end med center, but now economic disaster put an end to all of that. Now it's known as, quote, the bad neighborhood of Night City, end quote. the kind of place that suits gangs like Maelstrom and Tiger Claws down to the ground. Now, what's actually super interesting about these screenshots is the third one being shown off right now is actually where V exits in the beginning of the 48 minutes of gameplay that we saw in 2018. So we can now narrow down that district is Watson, where V is currently residing at the start of the game. In the second picture, I did want to highlight that this is one of our first looks at any type of post-weather in the Cyberpunk world. Granted, it is a form of concept art. It's not an in-game screenshot. And the final picture just gets me excited because you know me, I'm a weeb. I get excited when I see Japanese stuff like this, okay? So deal with it. All right, and to wrap things up, CD Projekt Red has teamed up with GameInformer for their latest issue. It's probably going to provide us a lot of information and stuff to talk about on the channel for about the next month, which is really exciting, but there are some interesting hidden bits within the cover. So first and foremost, there is this new QR scanner that you can use to take a peek into what's behind Cyberpunk 2077's cover on GameInformer. So I did it myself. Here's a video from my phone. Let's take a look.
What's up?
So yeah, we see V sitting at a bar next to Astoria Lou. I tried to Google who Astoria Lou was, search around the wiki. I didn't find anything, so it may just not be as deep as I'm thinking it is, but it's still interesting that it was there. It still is just cool to see, and I figured you guys might enjoy that a little bit. The last little secret on the GameInformer cover is a bit of binary code on the bottom left corner. I was so hyped about this because I picked up on it. I saw no one was writing about it. I was like, oh man, I'm going to decode this. I'm going to find out what this is. I'm going to make a big breakthrough of some secret information sitting right on the cover. So I go ahead and pound it in. And I had this moment sort of, I don't know how many of you guys like this, the movie A Christmas Story. I had that moment where Ralphie was like decoding and it said, just be sure to drink your Ovaltine. And I'm sitting there like, really? The message just says love from CD Projekt Red? It's my fault. I shouldn't have expected big story secrets on the front cover, but still, I thought it may have been cool, and I wanted to share it with all of you here today. But that's all of the Cyberpunk 2077 information we have to go over today, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope you did indeed learn something today. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all of the patrons who continue to push the limits of this channel. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I'll talk with you guys soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.